Yeah, it is an episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford flying solo. Let's have some fun today. 1 week after the Raiders flew into Baltimore as the biggest underdogs of week 2 in the NFL and put a shellacking on one of the best teams in the AFC, they come home for the home opener against the worst team in football, and they played like the worst team in football. Raiders fall 36-22 to Andy Dalton and the Panthers. And Antonio Pierce now has a new most embarrassing loss as a head coach. After falling 0-3 to Minnesota last season, he got absolutely shellacked by the Panthers. Andy Dalton, Chuba Hubbard, and Deontay Johnson played like all pro players. They were fantasy gods today against what I've been told and what's supposed to be one of the best defenses in football. Andy Dalton's ginger ass goes 26 of 37, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 INTs. Chuba Hubbard, remember him? Because I didn't. 21 carries for 114 yards. He averaged 5.4 yards per carry. Oh, yeah. He also had 5 receptions for 55 yards and a touchdown. Deontay Johnson, we all knew was pretty good, but he was just completely buried under the Panthers. 8 receptions on 14 targets, 122 yards and a touchdown, including a 35-yard reception. Offense torched our defense. On the other side of the ball, the Raiders managed to put together 22 points. 15 of those were in garbage time in the fourth quarter. This was not a 14-point game. Don't let the final score fool you. We got a touchdown in the first quarter. It was 7-7, and then it was all one-way traffic after that. Gardner Minshew, 18 to 28, 214 yards, 1 touchdown, and a ugly interception. I believe in the third quarter. Zamir White, 10 carries, 34 yards, 3.4 yards per carry. The entire team averaged 3.4 yards per carry. Trey Tucker had a nice game, 7 receptions on 9 targets, including a 54-yarder. He had a garbage time touchdown as well. Just a absolutely embarrassing performance by all phases of the game. I mean, other than A.J. Cole, right, the one lone superstar of this team, Daniel Carlson mixed. It was a 57-yarder, so you can't bury him too bad for that. But there was not one phase of this football game where the Raiders looked like they had anything going. I've poured my scotch. I'm drinking it with you. And I 100% blame Soto. He's 100% to blame. He went to the game today, went to the home opener. He got hooked up some nice tickets by one of you awesome listeners. And because of that, we lost. This is Soto's fault. I need you guys to just bombard his social media. I might even give you guys his phone number, just so you can call him, text him, just blow him up, harass him for how bad this was. Chats are open. Super chats are always appreciated. Let's get through the nitty gritty here, just to put some context into how bad this was. The Panthers have been outscored 73-13 in the first 2 weeks. They were unanimously considered the worst team in football. And we joked about it last week. It would be the most Raiders thing ever for the Raiders to, as the biggest underdogs in week 2, go across the country against a well-rested and very pissed off with an NFL MVP quarterback, Lamar Jackson, go into Baltimore and beat the Ravens and then come home and lose to the Panthers. This is more Raider than anything Raider has been. We got blown out by the Panthers in a home opener when they switched quarterbacks midweek. What is more Raider than that? Our boy Rory called it 2 weeks ago. We echoed it on this show. Just the most Raiders thing ever. To pull off the biggest upset of week 2 and then look like literally the worst team in football in week 3. The Panthers are supposed to be the worst team in football, and they blew us out. Ty Davis, thank you so much for the super chat. This is crap. For the money Raider Nation spends on tickets and merchandise, this crap just isn't right. I'm not buying anything else till it changes. I remember when the last time the NHL was on strike, I think it was like 10 or 12 years ago, like a third of the season. They missed like a third of the season. And I'm a Kings fan, right? I like me some hockey. Lord knows I've become a bigger Kings fan over the years because the Raiders will be like mathematically eliminated from the playoffs before Thanksgiving. So I'm like, all right, hockey season's starting early for me again. I remember during that strike year, I was like, okay, I'm going to watch games, but I'm not buying tickets. I'm not buying merch. I'm not buying a Kings Pez dispenser. I'm not spending one dime on NHL hockey as my personal fuck you for your strikes, for your strike year and how just like shitty it was. I mean, is it time to do a strike on the Raiders? Is it time for Raider Nation to say like, all right, guys, sorry. Like we're not, I know you season ticket holders. I don't want you guys to get left with your dicks in your hands, right? You've spent a lot of money on PSLs and season tickets. So go ahead and resell them. Resell them next week to whoever. So resell them to the Browns, resell them to Broncos. Resell those tickets, boys. Get your money back. Get something out of this because you're certainly not getting joy out of the team. I know we're just 1 week removed from a very inspiring W, but the things that have been wrong all season that we were able to overcome last week reared their ugly head here in a lot of ways. So let's start with the offense. Gardner Minshew coming into today led the league in yards, completion percentage. Like he was racking up some numbers, right? He was racking up some numbers, mostly because he had Brock Bowers and Davante Adams just running wild. Mostly because he was like his average passing depth was like 4 yards. He was dinking and dunking, but he was getting it to massive playmakers who can get a lot of yak. He was passing around to some studs who can get open and get some yardage afterwards. So he was buoyed by that. And he had a couple deep ones here and there. Again, Gardner Minshew has played 2 really good quarters out of the 12 so far this season, right? So we know what the ceiling is, and that's quarter 3 and 4 of last week in Baltimore. But as a general rule, it's just been little short, easy passes, and he's letting his playmakers take over, which is fine. That was the entire goal this entire time. No one was asking Gardner Minshew to be a prime Joe Montana. It's just, get the ball to the playmakers and let them handle this. But the same problems that he had the last 2 weeks showed up even worse today. There's the obvious. Just a bonehead interception. Now, whether it was a miscommunication to Davante Adams or just a completely awful throw by Minshew, it's hard to know. But that kind of goes to show you how errant some of Minshew's throws are. When it looked like that ball was nowhere near the receiver, and we don't know if it was a miscommunication or a bad throw. What does that say about your quarterback's accuracy? When you're like, I don't know if someone was speaking Italian and someone was speaking Chinese, or if the ball was just terrible, or if he just forgot how to throw a ball on a random play. Like that's Minshew. You don't know which one's which because he'll do both. Like he'll fuck up the math and he'll fuck up the throw. And every single game, there's 1 or 2 just complete face palm bonehead. What are you doing, Gardner Minshew plays? And he had one of those there. But the biggest issues are more subtle. The problem with Gardner Minshew is pass protection was good today. Pass protection was pretty good, right? The offensive line has not been good all season. Run blocking's been awful. Not making excuses for the offensive line. Still a work in progress. Still not good. But it was pretty good today. The problem was Gardner Minshew would hold the ball for 2.5 seconds in the pocket, and whether there was pressure or not, he'd freak out. It'd be like his computer screen just froze. So he'd start to feel like the pocket kind of come in a little bit, and then he'd just freak out, and he'd stop having his eyes looking at the horizon looking for receivers. He'd just look down at guys, try to run away, and there's a couple plays where he kind of got his eyes back upfield and made some plays, but normally like there'd be plays where it's like I'm screaming at my television screen. I'm like, Gardner, you got time. There's no pressure. You're in an NFL pocket. It's not going to be perfect. Like you're going to feel your guard kind of creeping up to you as the defensive tackle's pushing him back. And you're going to feel an end go whizzing by you as the tackle gets him offline. Like you're going to feel some stuff, but there's no pressure. You got time. Go through your reads. Go through your progressions. And he didn't. He would just flip out. And that's the biggest problem with Gardner Minshew. And it's not coming up in stat sheets. It's not coming up on the box score. But he just bails on plays. If his first read isn't there, he flips out. Raider Joe's, thank you so much for the super chat. I see screen passes, kids from Sixth Sense. Seriously, though, I'm over Getsy already. That's probably what you're saying. So it's been so hard the first two games to know what the problem is. Is it Minshew? Is it the line? Is it Getsy? Because they're all just not jiving, right? Getsy has had his issues, and I don't want to put all the blame on Getsy because we've been hearing from Antonio Pierce, we're going to run the rock. We're going to run the rock. We're committed to the run. You need to be committed to fixing the run, but don't be committed to bashing your head against the wall with run plays that don't work. There's a difference. There's a difference, right? If we had a proven awesome run game but we had two bad games rushing, but I'd say, okay, like we are a good rushing team. This is an anomaly, right? This is what we do well. We've proven it time and time again. We just had two bad games that didn't work. That's not us. We haven't proven we're a good run team. New offensive line coach, new offensive coordinator, a couple new faces on the O-line, a couple injuries on the O-line, no Josh Jacobs. We don't know what we are as a rush team. So the idea that Antonio Pierce is like, we're committed to the run. We're going to run. We're going to run. Great. Welcome to 3rd and 8 every single goddamn drive. And not until late in games are we like, fuck it, let's throw the ball because that's all we can do. Luckily, we only ran the ball 16 times. The team threw the ball 40 times. But that was because of the second half when we were playing catch-up the entire game. This commitment to the run is driving me nuts. And I don't know if we should blame Getsy because it's like his call on offensive coordinator, or is it coming from on high? Antonio Pierce, I keep saying it, he's trying to coach the team he wants, not the team he has. And I agree, there should be a commitment to the run, but a commitment to fixing the run game, not forcing a run game that doesn't exist. There's a difference. Sam A., thank you for the super chat. It's actually good they beat us. Now we get the first pick next year. Is Manning coming out? I don't know college football. I mean, I love to like exaggerate and lose my shit as much as the next guys, but like we beat the Ravens last week. I mean, it was bad. Never underestimate the brand new quarterback pulse. Never underestimate it. That's why we've always kind of had in our back pocket Farva. Like we got Aiden O'Connell at any time that can come in and give us a spark. And I've been on record. I don't think O'Connell is drastically better or worse than Minshew. I think the reason why I wanted Farva to be our starter was just simply because he's the youngest and we don't know his ceiling. Like maybe he can turn into something great. Whereas we got 6 seasons of Minshew. We know what he is, right? He's underestimated. I still stand by Soto in our statement that he's underrated and the league doesn't give him credit for what he's capable of. He's still not great. He's still not good, but he is very undervalued, right? And he proved that last week. And he's proven it with, decent completion percentage, but there's obviously nothing special. But never, ever underestimate the quarterback off the bench spark. And that was part of it. I think that was a big part of it today. Just imagine being the Panthers and you feel like with Bryce Young at as your quarterback, with this young second-year, first overall pick that's just ripping your team down. How uninspiring is that? Like you're like, why am I here? If you're a wide receiver, like, why am I running this route? Why am I if you're Deontay Johnson, why am I busting my ass to get open when he's not going to throw it to me? If you're a tackle, you're like, why am I killing myself to pass protect this guy when he's just going to miss, right? Andy Dalton comes in, veteran, got some history. By all accounts, he's a pretty likable guy. Like I know I don't know why, but he's like, a little bit of a punch. Like I don't know about you guys, but like all my like Charger buddies, Bronco buddies, NFL buddies are like, oh, you got beat up by Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's not a terrible quarterback. He's gotten a bad rap, but he's not awful, right? Like he's not an embarrassing quarterback to have. So he's pretty good. And you get that spark. That new quarterback spark is real. We saw it in action today. Julio Ailman, thank you so much for the $5. That's going right to my liver. How hard is it to figure out that our center and left guard need to be replaced? Well, Andre James isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Just signed an extension. Left guard, they were jumping around. Jackson Powers Johnson. Parham was moving around. It was a weird guard situation. I don't know if they're just trying to have JPJ kind of ease him in a little bit because he's
again, concussions are no joke, man. Like, he has a history of concussions before he even came to the NFL. And now he's got now he had the off season with a concussion issue. Like, that's not something you mess with, dude. And he was a high school wrestler and NFL lineman. Like, how much more concussion prone of sports can you get? Like, unless he was like boxer / MMA fighter / the fifth character of Jackass. That's a recipe for concussions. Sam A, thank you for the super chat. How many beers in Soto by now? He tried to join. He was struggling to join with his situation that he's in. Text me when you want me to talk about. Text me what you want me to talk about. General topic. Just bombard, guys. Do me a favor. Bombard Soto's social media, and you guys hit him up with questions. I don't know if you noticed this, but I'm hosting this show solo right now, and you guys deserve my undivided attention. So I don't really have time to just mess with him. Okay. What else? Real quick. Did you guys notice, did Antonio Pierce have face herpes? He was sweating and he had little bumps on his face, and maybe it's stress, stress hives. It looked like he had something going on. I'm genuinely worried about him. Didn't look like acne to me. Let's talk defense. You heard on the broadcast multiple times, Spiro Ditas just baffled that Maxx Crosby was so quiet in this game. And it is baffling for Maxx Crosby to be quiet in any football game. Max's final stat line, 3 total tackles, 1 solo, 1 pass deflected. That is not a Maxx Crosby game at all. And this just goes to show you Maxx was hobbled. That injury, that knee injury that he got towards the very end of the Ravens game that made him questionable throughout the week, that was much more serious than we thought. That's the only answer to this. Maxx, they had him miss snaps in the first quarter. And you saw him sit out those last couple defensive drives. They saw him on the sideline. He is clearly more hurt than let on. But because he's Maxx fucking Crosby, he's not going to miss games. He's not going to miss time. But he was combat ineffective. He was not Maxx Crosby. That bum wheel kept him from being Maxx. And again, props to him for being the soldier that he is to be on the field, because even Maxx has a decoy drawing double teams and stuff. There's still value there. And Lord knows with how thin we are at defensive end, with Kuntz out for this season, Tyree Wilson dragging ass, bunch of practice squad guys filling at defensive end. Even 50% of Maxx Crosby is still one of the better defensive ends on our team, so he needed to be out there. But I think this was an absolute prove-it game about how important Maxx Crosby is to our defense as a whole. Now, I was talking last week of how Robert Spillane's had 11 tackles, 7 solo, a sack, and a tackle for a loss and a QB hit. He is the most productive player on our defense. He might be the most productive player on the entire team. Robert Spillane is unbelievably productive. He's going to get a massive extension from this team this season. Mark my words. Before offseason, Spillane's going to get a 3-year, $50 million. He's getting something crazy, and rightfully so. He deserves every dime of it. But that's your job as a middle linebacker. You should be the most productive player on the defense, right? You should be getting sacks. You should be getting interceptions. You should be getting solo tackles. You're in the thick of everything, right? The defense is designed for you to do shit, right? He is the most productive member on the defense. Maxx Crosby, and today proved he is the heart and soul of the defense. And if he isn't at 100%, if he's not making an impact, the rest of the defense falters. So think of a chain reaction, right? Maxx Crosby gets pressures, gets sacks, gets to the quarterback, shuts down the run on one side of the defense, right? That causes a ripple effect. Now your quarterback is throwing it faster than he wants to. Now running backs are having to make a cut deeper in the backfield than they wanted to. Quarterbacks are going to have to scramble a little bit more. That in turn helps your DBs, because now the DBs don't have to cover quite as long. The play calling changes because now after a sack, you're in 3rd and 13 instead of 3rd and 5, which means now you can pin your ears back and you can know what's coming. Patrick Graham knows which defense to call. Once Maxx Crosby became ineffective, the rest of the defense faltered. The DBs looked like shit because they're forced to cover longer than they wanted to. Linebackers were getting blocked because they're just kind of chipping Max instead of double teaming him. Christian Wilkins was quiet today because he got to be double teamed because you weren't worried about Mad Max next to him. I'm telling you guys, like as good as this like defense has flashed the last 2 games, like it's flashed as a pretty good defense. It ain't shit without Max. He is the heartbeat of this defense. And I know there's a lot of teams and there's a lot of players where they'll say like, oh, this guy's the heart and soul of the offense, or this guy's the heart and soul of the line, or this guy's the heart and soul of the defense. This is literal. Literally, this defense cannot perform without Maxx Crosby. He is the oil that keeps all the wheels turning on this defense. It all stems from him. The pressure he creates, rushes passes, which helps the DBs. The sacks that he gets makes Patrick Graham look like a brilliant play caller. The blitzes that are done get home because you're still double teaming Max, and people are open. Like Max has to be good. Max has to be healthy and effective, or this defense looks like trash. And it looked like trash today. Chuba Hubbard had almost 200 yards of offense. Deontay Johnson, 122 yards and a touchdown. Andy Dalton, 319. But this is a season where passers aren't, like it's super rare for there to be like a 300-yard passer. Andy fucking Dalton. Andrew Gregory Dalton. Daywalker Dalton comes in and gets 300 yards. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Because Maxx Crosby wasn't healthy. And that, of course, exacerbates the bad tackling that's kind of been plaguing our DBs. That's exacerbated miscommunications that have happened with our DBs. It's bad, man. And here's the other thing. I can't believe no one's talking about this. You know how many takeaways this great Raiders defense has in the last 3 games? You know how many takeaways, fumble recoveries, or interceptions that we can be a top 5 defense, one of the best defensive lines in football. Oh, we got young DBs that are superstars in the making. You know how many takeaways we've had? American Revolutionary hit it. That Robert Spillane interception from last week. 1 takeaway in 3 games. Atrocious defenses stumble back asswards into takeaways. Even when the Raiders were like in the Paul Gunther days, when they were just absolutely dog shit defense, you'd still get one or 2 a game because the running back will just drop it. An exchange between quarterback and running back will get befuddled. A quarterback will have an errant throw, a tip pass that is a lame duck and someone grabs it. Like atrocious defenses can still average a takeaway a game. This amazing Raiders defense has 1 in 3 games. That's a major issue. That's a major problem. God, drink. Every time I say major issue, you guys have to drink. So I'm not drinking alone. All right, what else? Got to Max and all his missed snaps. I will say props to the Raider crowd. It looked like it was 99% Raiders for the home opener. And I know the Panthers don't like travel great, but the weather's still nice in Las Vegas. Still a destination. Good job, Raider Nation, for holding it down. The Panthers scored 13 points in their first 2 games of the season under Bryce Young, and then the Panthers scored 14 points in less than 2 quarters with Andy Dalton. I have like random notes. I'm just gonna like diarrhea them to you. Unless you guys got questions, we'll get to your questions here in a minute. Okay, let's talk Antonio Pierce. Game 1 against the Chargers, a lot of bonehead moves. That idea that called the punt in the 4th quarter on that 4th and 1 was like the big one. That was like the mind blower. Where like that's like such a statistical anomaly. That's what everyone talked about. Last week, he actually coached a really good game. Dare say, there's an argument to be made that Antonio Pierce out-coached John Harbaugh last week. There were moments where things went well, like Harbaugh had like a kind of a dumb challenge flag, a couple of mistakes. Antonio Pierce, no problems, no errors, no, other than generic game plan going in and just bashing your head against the wall in the run game. He didn't have any like big mistakes last week. I would say he outcoached Harbaugh. This week, not so much. That 3rd and 7 at midfield, I think it was second quarter. They handed the ball off on 3rd and 7, knowing they'd go for it immediately on 4th down, and didn't get it. That was a unique one. I don't know if that was a Getsy or an AP thing, but it all kind of comes down to AP. I kind of enjoy like doing something different, like when you know your offense isn't firing, like kind of something different. Didn't work. Can you hear me now, Soto?
I can hear you now, sir.
Are you in a back alley somewhere?
I am.
Finally giving that hand job off that you've been
I'm trying. I just finished.
I hope it's a sandy one. I hope it's
Yeah,
a sandpaper handy.
I didn't put any spit on it whatsoever. No spit.
So the last time a member of the Autumn Windbags was at a Raider game, there was a blowout, right? 63-21 when I went and saw the Chargers on Thursday Night Football. The second time an Autumn Windbag goes to a Raider game, there's a blowout. This time it went the other way. Are you going to take full responsibility for the shitty play today, or are you going to try to make excuses?
Yes, RJ, it's all my fault. You're incredibly hilarious and witty for thinking of this spit. Blame it all on Soto that we lost. Yes, it's all my fault.
I can't think of a more logical reason to be able to lose this bad to the worst team in football.
So I don't know what you've talked about because I've been walking and it's 110 degrees out here, but this isn't a Andy Dalton thing. You know, it's not anything like that. This is a Raiders DNA thing. It's a Raiders culture thing of playing to the level of your competition. And that only works when you're a really shitty team and playing better teams. I said it in the show this week. There's two different cultures. There's your internal organizational culture, and there's an external culture with the media and mainstream media and all that stuff. The reason why we didn't get any credit against the Ravens is because of that external culture. And a big step for us to help fix that culture was to take care of business at our home opener. And we did it. And that's why the narrative was the Ravens lost the game, the Raiders didn't win it. And this week it's going to be the Red Rocket won the game, the Raiders didn't lose it. They just weren't good enough to win. And that's the long and short of it.
I think it's a couple things. I mean, I think that's true, but I think it manifested in very tangible things that you can critique. Like I was saying before, the quarterback off the bench spark is super real. Like that's like a real thing where you go from Bryce Young, who's just complete dog shit, and you got Deontay Johnson. Like, why am I even running routes when this kid's not going to get me the ball? And then you're like, oh, okay, here's a guy that I think, like, regardless of what you think of Andy Dalton as a player, like he's been pretty universally liked by teammates and coaches. Like he's a guy that people like want to play for, and he had a couple really, really good seasons in Cincinnati, right? He knows what success looks like. So you got that. You got Maxx Crosby, who's clearly still hampered. Like Maxx Crosby's knee is obviously still a major issue. And if he's not effective, it sets up like a domino effect where the rest of the defense suffers from it because now Wilkins can get double teamed and DBs have to cover for longer and linebackers are now getting blocked. Like if there was ever a game, Soto, if there was ever a game that showed how important Maxx Crosby is, it's not those games where he has 2 sacks, a strip sack, 6 quarterback hurries. It's not those games. It's the games where he doesn't do anything because he's hurt. And the Carolina fucking Panthers put up 36 because he's injured and missing snaps and not effective. Like this proved beyond a shadow of a doubt. Maxx Crosby's defensive MVP because this defense that people are like, oh, it's top 5, top 10 turns into like one of the worst defenses in football when he's got a little boo-boo.
Yeah. And to look at it, even going into halftime, it was dead. The crowd was dead. The defense was dead. The sideline was dead. There was no juice anywhere in the building, and it all comes off the field. Just questionable decisions, going for it on 4th when it was questionable, not going for it on 4th when you maybe should have, down, 3 scores, and it was just a failure all around, coaching wise, player wise, scheme wise. I don't know how much you got into Luke Getsy, but we just looked at each other and we're like, is he going to run pass again? And he did.
That's what I was thinking out loud. Is it 100% Getsy's fault, or is AP from on high saying we're going to run no matter what? Because he keeps saying that in pressers, and it's like I was saying first thing I said in the show, Soto. A commitment to the run is good if your commitment is to fix the run, not just run it because you say you're going to run it. Those are two very different things. Yes, the Raiders should be absolutely committed to fixing their run game because it's dog shit and it needs to be better. But that doesn't mean like we're just going to keep running until magically we get better at it. Like, no. You can't run the ball now. So don't bash your head against the wall doing something that doesn't work. Fix it. But whether it's Getsy or AP, they're just like, no, we want to be in 3rd and 8 every single fucking drive.
Yeah, there comes a point where you have to understand who you are. And that's a part of the first quarter of the season is understand. It's like everyone has a plan going into the season, but if you're not run blocking as well, if maybe Zeus isn't as good as you thought he was, or he isn't quite as good as Josh Jacobs as you thought he was going to be, you have to adjust. There's no adjustments going on here. I wasn't surprised that Minshew was benched at the end of the game. In 2+ games, 2 and 3/4 games, he has 4 turnovers. He had maybe one good quarter plus that was good in the entirety of that time. I'm not going to put too much into how Aiden O'Connell looked because he was going against a prevent defense. So it's like, okay, he's not going against their actual defense they played throughout the entire game.
It's garbage. It's garbage time.
It's garbage time. It's like, dude, it's car time, dude. That's what it is. So, and I just wanted to get you a little bit, but the issue that we're running into here is this coaching staff? Are they?
I would kill for car time right now.
Yeah, he did great today. 25 passes for 140 yards. Sweet. So the issue that we're having right now is this coaching staff, is their ego bigger than their want to win? Because it seems like we keep banging our head against the wall, doing the same thing over and over again, and it's not working. We came back against the Ravens, and that was like a quarter and change of throwing the ball and running off of pass sets and stuff like that. I mean, Rafi and I, we called it out whenever Zeus was in the game, about 90% run. Whenever he was out of the game, it was about 90% pass. And if two idiots like us, can figure that out, it's just. The season's not over. The season's not lost because look, if we win next week, we're 2-2 in the first 4 games. I think that's what we all kind of expected. We hoped for 3-1, but we kind of knew, okay, 2-2 is probably where we're going to be. But we have to learn from the information that we're getting. What really irks me, and one of the sayings that really pisses me off when people say is, oh, knowledge is power. No, knowledge is not power. You can have all the knowledge in the world. If you don't know how to apply it, then that knowledge is nothing. You can be the smartest guy in the room, but if you can't communicate with people, that knowledge that you have is nothing. All this information that we're getting from these games about our team, about what we do best, about who's better, about any of this stuff, doesn't mean anything unless we apply it to what we do. If we keep doing the same thing over and over again, this is going to put AP on notice. It's going to put Getsy on notice. It's going to put a lot of the players offensively on notice, especially on the line, because they're not playing great either. And it's a wake-up call only if you choose to wake up. If you hit the snooze over and over again, it's not a wake-up call.
Well, the good thing in all this mess is we know exactly what's wrong. And other than offensive line woes, it's all pretty fixable. Like Madison needs to be RB1. Alexander Madison needs to be our starting running back, right? Like move Zeus to kind of like your power back, your goal line back.
Short yardage guy.
If you're like if you're in a jumbo package or something, like Zeus can be in there, and don't like completely cut him out of the offense. Like he still has a role, but Madison, you're like, are they going to pass? Are they going to run? Is it going to be power? Is it going to be zone? Like he's just proving he's a better fit for this system. So he needs to be running back number 1. We need to fix the run game and not just spin the hamster wheel of the run game, or we're just going to keep doing it, hoping it's going to magically fix itself, right? We need to just let Brock Bowers, Davante Adams,
Bowers
Jacoby
had like
Myers,
one
Trey
target in
Tucker
the
look
first
great
half.
today. We need to just like let them free. Just let them run free and let Minshew get them the ball. And also we need to get someone with a stopwatch next to Minshew. Be like, dude, don't scramble unless you're like 3 seconds in the pocket. Because he's Mr. Happy Feet. Like if his first read's not there, he immediately just bails. It's like there's no pressure. You're in a normal NFL pocket. Offense, like the pass protection was pretty good today. Like it was pretty good today. Run blocking terrible. Pass protection was pretty good.
Pass protection wasn't bad.
Like, oh, I've been in the pocket for 1.5 seconds. Let's run away. Ah!
Dude, there's times where he scrambled out of the pocket a few times, and then he scrambled back into the pocket and was still able to throw the ball. It's
like
good. I'm
a
not
normal NFL pocket. Like, yeah, there's some stuff going on, but you're fine.
I'm not willing to give up on the season just yet, just because it's early. You know, the fucking Niners lost to the Rams today. You know, like the Cowboys have lost 2 games at home in a row. Like some good teams are losing some weird games right now. But if we come out again next week with the same shit, then I don't know that there is hope, because what more do you need to see from your offense that you're not willing to change it? What more of you are you willing to see? And if you don't feel like you have the players for what you want to do, then change what you want to do. Unfortunately, it just seems like AP has it stuck in his head that he wants to be a power running team. Unfortunately, that's not the team that we are. It just seems really weird that Getsy would continue to do the same play calls over and over again. You know, you can't run the ball and then you'd run a screen, you run a draw play on 3rd and 9. Like a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense in a very like topical sense. It's not like, okay, if you look at the numbers and you look deep, like none of it makes sense. So I'm gonna go ahead and head off. But the season is not over. We're 3 games into a 17-game season, but we need to get this fixed. We need to figure out what we want to do and who we want to be, because unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we've been listening to the information that we've been getting. All right, guys.
Which titty bar are you gonna dry your tears into a G-string at?
I have been promised to go to the Hustler, Larry Friend's Hustler, by Savannah and the Bubbles. So I think I'm gonna go there.
Get a hookah, and just like chill for a little bit and let them come to you. That's the move at the Hustler.
I'm just gonna have my balls out of my shorts. I'm just gonna pull them out on the side, and I'm just gonna see what happens. I'm gonna let the vibe come to me.
We call that the Andy Dalton these days.
Yeah, we could call that the barbershop bubblegum.
Have fun, buddy.
All right, see ya.
Later. Ty Davis, thank you so much for the super chat. I said during the offseason for $1 million we should have picked up Wilson. Shit, if he sucked, at least it would have been $1 million loss. That's what I said. What do we got to lose? But Soto's like, oh no. What about team chemistry? He'll come in and just like destroy it. What? He seemed to work in Seattle. Like whatever team chemistry he destroyed, they won a Super Bowl. They were fine. And it's $1 million. That's chump change. Like that kind of cap space is like lost in the cushions of AP's Impala. I'm with you, Ty. Like Soto, I think it's just because I brought it up. Soto wanted to argue with me about it. It's like, just get him. If he doesn't work out, cut him in preseason. Cost you nothing. Squat. At least now you got some options. This is you can tell Soto was thinking about this one all day. If you hit the snooze over and over again, it's not a wake-up call. It's just snoozing. Ray, season is over. Raiders can beat Panthers. How can beat the Browns? Well, if we can beat the Ravens, why can't we beat the Browns? Kind of a weird one, right? That's true. Yeah, dude, this is rough, man. Kuntz hurt us. Kuntz is not playing well. Maxx is hurt. Diablo, right? That injury, like, rough spot, guys. Rough spot. Sam A, is AP going to be here for 3 years? So it has been reported, not confirmed, but reported that Antonio Pierce is in a 2-year deal. And you need to see those 2 years out, I think. Like, you got to give a coach, especially one coming off of, like, the complete dog shit that was the Josh McDaniels experiment. You need to give a coach 2 years to kind of let things pan out, right? Especially when it's a new offensive coordinator, new general manager. We're probably going to have a new quarterback next season. Like, these are all things that you kind of got to let pan out a little bit, right? This isn't like, so I know that we let go of Josh McDaniels under 2 seasons, despite the fact that he was paid so much and it cost a lot. But you understand the difference. Josh McDaniels came in and took over a playoff team with a franchise quarterback, multiple Pro Bowlers on both sides of the ball, one of the best kicking tandems in football. Josh McDaniels took over a winner and drove it into the ground. That's a lot different than taking a team that's a mess and having it trend upwards, right? So Josh McDaniels had no excuse for dragging this team into the dirt. You had all your draft picks, plenty of cap space, franchise quarterback, multiple Pro Bowl wide receivers, Davante Adams that wanted to come over. You had Maxx Crosby, like I said, bunch of cap space, bunch of draft picks, playoff team. They had no excuse to suck ass, and they did, right? This is not the case with Antonio Pierce. Like, he took over a team in disarray. Don't let his 5-4 record towards the end of the season confuse you. Like, it was a team in complete disarray that he took over. And it's possible, right? Like, first-year coaches turn around teams all the time. Every single season, a first-year coach will take over a trash team and take them to the playoffs, or take them to 10 wins, or do something great with not a lot, right? So it happens. And that's what we're expecting of Antonio Pierce. That's what we're demanding of Antonio Pierce, because he was given the keys to the kingdom with a guy with very little experience. Like, a guy, like, he was just a miscellaneous linebacker coach this time last season. And then he became head coach, right? It's a rise that made Kamala Harris blush. She came out of nowhere, right? And became VP and maybe president. Like, that's Antonio Pierce. He was a whatever linebacker coach that stumbled in the NFL because Arizona State fell apart, right? Like, he came out of nowhere, right? But he needs his 2 years. He needs his full 2 years to let things kind of play out. And he should. I feel like he's already kind of rushing to win now because it's such a short thing. Like, because it's 2 years and he knows he's on a short leash and he's got to figure things out because he doesn't have this resume he can lean back on. All he has is results. Like, all he has is what his results are going to be. He can't be like Belichick and, like, point to his rings and say, yeah, maybe it didn't work the first half of the season, but I clearly know what I'm doing. He doesn't have that, right? He needs his full 2 years, for better or worse, to figure out what's going on there. What else? So, more penalties than usual today. I think we had 6 penalties all season, and we had 6 today. Not that obviously the penalties are what made or break the game today. Like, that's not why we lost, because we had more penalties, but I don't like that. That's supposed to be one of Antonio Pierce's calling cards, where we don't turn the ball over and we don't commit a lot of penalties. Turn the ball over every game. It's mostly a Minshew problem, but he's turning the ball over every game. And we got 6 penalties today, same as the Panthers. I think the Panthers had 6 as well. 7, one less than the Panthers. We had more penalty yardage, though, 54 to 51. Just going down the team stats. Panthers had 24 first downs, Raiders 20. Only 59 total plays for the Raiders. Panthers had 70. 331 total yards for the Raiders, 437 total yards for the Panthers. We each had 12 drives. Only 55 rushing yards to the Panthers, 131. 3 for 3 in the red zone. Good for us. 3 for 5 for the Panthers. No takeaways again. We've been over that. Still a problem. Still a massive problem. You got to take that ball away. Davante Adams got some heat today for some drops. I think it was a lot more just really, really good defense. There were a couple like really close ones where like the ball came, caught it. When they went slow-mo, you saw the DB come in and just fucking karate chop that thing off. I think the defense was just playing. I think he had 2 or 3 just really, really contested catches where the defense came up big. Last week he had some drops. Davante Adams had some serious drops last week. He had one in the end zone that was a tough catch, but as a $25 million receiver, you need to make that catch. And then he had like the very obvious, like, he's not going to have a drop like that for the rest of the season, where just a basic slant wide open, and he was just like thinking touchdown before he even made, that wasn't today. I don't think Davante Adams had a bad game drop wise. He was just defended. Not that it's okay. Like, again, you're a $25 million receiver. You need to catch those. But in fairness, the DB made a really, really good play. Like a really, really good play. Marcus Epps' knee injury, that looked bad. That was one of those where like he goes down, writhes in pain, immediately takes off his helmet. Like that I don't even want to like hypothesize, but that looked season ending-ish. Just like how much pain he was in. Like you always tell like the frustration on their face. It's uncanny how professional athletes can just like tell that. So there's a fighter in MMA and the UFC who fought Donald Cerrone. John Horodecki. John Horodecki, was that his name? He got kicked in the face. He immediately knew his jaw was broken. He got kicked. Didn't go down. Wasn't concussed. Didn't take a knee. Eyes didn't roll back. He just like, boom. He's just like, stop. He's like, jaw's broken. Stop. Like he had the wherewithal mid-fight to take a kick and was just like, yeah, no, that's professional athletes. They have this crazy, they're like so in tune with their bodies. Well, it's like if my knee exploded, I'd be like, oh my God, where am I? It hurts so bad. What's happening? Oh, am I ever going to walk again? A grenade exploded in my leg. A sniper shot me in the ACL. A python came and like bit my dick. Like you freak out. Or pro athletes, they're like, oh, that hurts. That's ACL. That's probably 6 months. Trainer, come here. That's pro athletes. And that's what it felt like Marcus Epps acted like, where it wasn't just like, oh, that's a stinger. Give me a minute. It was like, shit, season's over. McBud, thank you for the super chat. Paid in pounds. When's McBud? AP got a 2-year deal. Is that a possible reason why Kingsbury wasn't hired as he wanted a 3-year deal? So Vic Tafer of The Athletic, I don't know if it was like a report or I think it was maybe like one of the Q&As. A question like this was brought up and he talked about it. It seemed like it was more Kingsbury waffling than something big making him change his mind. It seemed a little bit more like the vibe Tafer got was Kingsbury signed, and it sounded good, right? Offensive coordinator job for the Raiders. You've got Davante Adams. You might have, at the time you thought maybe you'll have Josh Jacobs. You got Jacoby Myers. You got a big, all your draft picks. Hey, this is, offensive coordinator in the NFL. Like, I'll take that job. And then he got it and he kind of realized, shit, I don't have a quarterback. I got a brand new head coach. Let's call a spade, right? The Raiders haven't won a playoff team and won a playoff game in 2 decades. It's like, do I want to risk that? That's kind of more what it sounded like. It was a little bit more like he was looking for a reason to get out as opposed to something really like drastically changed. And so he changed his mind. Again, this is all kind of hearsay, and this is just one report from one reporter and kind of his reading of the tea leaves. But that Kingsbury comment's a good reminder. Like Luke Getsy wasn't our first choice. It wasn't our second choice. Luke Getsy was the third choice. And he was kind of an eyebrow raiser, right? You're like, yeah, the Bears offense looked like dog shit. And we were hoping it was Justin Fields, right? It was just Justin Fields and a lack of weapons. It wasn't Luke Getsy's offense. And again, after 3 games and having, Gardner Minshew as your quarterback, the jury's not out yet. We've seen the ceiling. Quarters 3 and 4 of the Baltimore game last week. We know what this is capable of. Don't get overly cute. Let Brock Bowers and Davante Adams do their thing they can get open, give them the ball. If they're double teamed, go to any of the other great weapons you have. Trey Tucker, Jacoby Myers, Michael Mayer, Madison out of the backfield. Like, the recipe is there, you know? The wife's FaceTiming me. Should we talk to her? She went to the Rams-Niners game today. She got a free ticket. Hey, babe. I'm live on air right now. Are you on your way back? I know. We all suck. I'm going to be drunk when you get home, by the way. I've switched to scotch. I'll see you in a bit. Love you. Bye. You know, every time I say, like, when the Raiders lose, it's like, hug your kids, kiss your wife, drink a beer. It's kind of what you need as a Raider fan. It's supposed to supplement our lives, you know? Not be like the thing that drags it down. You got to remind yourself what's good in life. If there's one thing the Raiders do, it's a nice reminder of what's important in life. I know it's not Raiders, but how shitty does Bryce Young have to feel today? You've been the starting quarterback for 19 games, and when they started, they were the worst team. When you're starting, you're the worst team in football. And then Andy fucking Dalton comes in out of nowhere off the bench and has the best quarterback performance of the season. That's not hyperbole. The best quarterback performance of the season was Andy Dalton, Andrew Gregory Dalton, for the Carolina Panthers on the other side of the continent against Maxx Crosby, Christian Wilkins, Jack Jones, and a supposedly top 10 defense. This is why we drink. Bryce Young has to feel 5 feet tall, which is only about 4 inches shorter than what he normally is. How tall is Bryce Young? We always make fun of professional athletes for being short. He's probably still like 6'1". What is he? Oh, 5'10". Yeah, he's my height. I take it back. He's tiny. If he fought MMA, he'd be a 155er probably. He'd be like a lightweight or welterweight. 5'10" and 1/8. So when people ask me how tall I am, I'm closer to 5'10" than 5'9", but I don't want to sound like the guy that pretends to be taller than he is, so I round down and say 5'9". I wonder if Bryce Young's the same way. So that's kind of the long and short of it. The Marcus Epps injury we got to. Hopefully it's not season ending, but it kind of felt like it. And this is yet another reminder of our depth is a major issue. Like, Maxx Crosby wasn't effective because he was injured, and we had no one to back him up. Our defense gets tired because we got no one backing him up. I mean, other than tight end and kind of LOL quarterback, every room is pretty thin, man. We really don't have a lot. So the big conversation this week will be, do the Raiders start Aiden O'Connell next week or Gardner Minshew? That's going to be a topic of conversation. I'm not saying it should be. I'm saying it will be. Because in garbage time, Aiden O'Connell looked really good. 9 of 12, 82 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown pass was really awesome. That rollout that he had to Trey Tucker had a little trouble because that's supposed to be what Gardner Minshew had over Aiden O'Connell is his legs. Like, we're all kind of, we're all still kind of figuring out who's good at what, who's better at what, who does who what. But like the one for sure was Minshew could move better than Favre. Like that was the one guarantee, right? Minshew can move around. Favre was one of the worst running quarterbacks in the NFL. But O'Connell had a pretty good little rollout, felt a little pressure, bought time, threw on the run really well. And again, I still stand by my statement that I don't think Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew, whether we start one or the other, it's going to drastically affect our win-loss. I still stand by that. I don't think it's going to drastically. I don't think starting one or the other is going to be like, if we start Minshew, we're going to be a 5-win team. If we start Favre, we'll be a 9-win team. Like I don't think it's that. I don't think it makes, honestly, one difference, win or loss. Now, they are a little different, and there will be differences, but I don't think one is drastically better than the other. However, like we saw today on the other side, Don't ever underestimate the juice of bringing in another quarterback as just a jolt. Just a lightning bolt strikes the team, and things can and it can change people's mentalities. Look what happened last season. Last season, we start Farva, and we start 35. We put up 35 points against the Giants. It was like 35-0 at one point, right? Now, Farva isn't that much better than Jimmy Garoppolo, but it was the jolt. It was the bam. It's a game changer. It's like a quick thing you can just change, right? It's like turning your hat backwards when you're arm wrestling. It's like a switch. It's just like even if you're moving on a quarterback that's not as good, it can give a jolt to the team. And so I think you leave that in the back pocket. I think you keep Aiden O'Connell on the bench. You keep giving Minshew confidence. Hey, look, man, we still believe in you. You're still the guy. You have Maxx Crosby. Give him another pep talk, right? You still roll with Gardner Minshew. You let him keep learning the system. You let him keep getting comfortable with the with the wide receivers. You don't make that change yet, but it's nice that you always have it in the back pocket, knowing that your backup quarterback is arguably as good as your starter, depending on who you ask, right? Like there's not a drastic difference between the two. It's a nice jolt that you can wait on, right? At what point do we start worrying about Patrick Graham? Now, he has been the savior of our defense. Our defensive coordinator, Patrick Graham. Remember last season, we're like, we didn't even want to talk about how good of a job he's doing because we don't want the rest of the NFL to know because he's going to get head coaching offers, right? That's like just how good he's been. He was pretty befuddled today. Is he just leaning on Maxx Crosby? Was it just he was just riding Max's effectiveness? And that's why the defense played well? Because once Maxx is hobbled, Bill defense fell apart. It didn't seem like PG was ready for it. Like you need like Patrick Graham, if he hasn't already, he needs to have a game plan for when Maxx is healthy and when Maxx isn't. Today was a perfect example of that. There needs to be a Maxless game plan. Because when Maxx is healthy and just rolling, like you just let him off the leash. Like you have 10 guys on the defense playing a scheme, and then you have Maxx Crosby dog off the leash. That's it's been proven. That's what you got to do. Let Maxx just Maxx. Now I'm exaggerating. That he's not like part of the defense. Like he's part of stunts and he still has responsibilities. But he's best when you just let him free. Just light his hair on fire, douse him in kerosene, light him on fire, and let him loose. Like that's what Maxx is when he's most effective, right? When he's hobbled and he's not working, you got to adjust. You can't just assume Maxx is, gonna be in the backfield in AK-47 just causing ruckus. Because Andy Dalton was just chilling back there, man. Rocketing darts. All right, a couple questions, and then I'll get out of here. Prado and Sons. I don't like Minshew. He's like a slow hippie out there. Put down the bong, motherfucker. He does, like, he never looks more slow than when we do screens. Like, our screen passes develop at dial-up speed. Like, you can, like, I can hear a screen progressing. It's just so slow, which is why I think we did a lot less of them today. Because it was just, Oyster Shucksters. Sorry, but AOC played a hell of a lot better than Jimmy Grapes last year. Yeah, he did. I think it was partly the boost, though, too. Like, don't get like, you're never going to hear me hype up Jimmy Garoppolo in his quarterback play at all. But the rest of the team played better. Run game got better. Defense played better. Pass blocking got better. Like, everyone played better. McBud, anyone else see the play where Bowers dropped back into a fullback position and we still got 1 or 2 yards? Our run was terrible. We averaged, this was actually our best running game yet. I'm sorry that's the truth, but this is the best running game performance we've had all season. 3.4 yards per carry. That's the best we've had all season. We're actually getting better. Sadly. What else? Trade for another quarterback. I mean, who? The Stafford talk. might heat up. But if we don't have a team, if we don't have a record good enough to warrant Stafford coming here, he won't. And if we're not pass blocking, it was good today. Pass block again. Offensive line has been the biggest problem with this team all season. Pass blocking today was good. I'm not going to say exceptional or amazing or great. It was good. It was good pass blocking today. Gardner Minshew just, when his first read's not there, he just flips out. Like, I can just see like the hard drive in his brain crashing. Like he'll see like it's a busy pocket, right? You know, the guards kind of getting pushed into you, the defensive ends flying past you, right? Like shit's happening, but it's an NFL pocket that's holding up. And you just flip out. Can't do that. And when pressure does come, Getsy, to his credit, has been giving him outs, right? There's guys running like little quick outs or, you know, swing passes. Like there's a running back open. Like you have outs, but he just flips out and doesn't see them. Like guys are open everywhere. But when the first read's not there, his brain explodes. Not every play, but more than I like to see. Yeah. It's the long and short of it. McBud. Our whole D-line was poor today. When Maxx Crosby's not firing, it causes a ripple effect that hurts everybody. I'll say it again for the new guys that just jumped on the chat. When Maxx Crosby is playing well, when Maxx Crosby just Max, when Max is healthy, not even a good day, just a normal Max day, right? A healthy Maxx Crosby day. He is in the backfield all the time. He's causing a ruckus constantly. He's freeing up Christian Wilkins to do stuff, which means quarterbacks are pestered, which means they're getting the ball out faster than they want to, which means the DBs don't have to cover quite as long. Max is, forcing double teams, which means linebackers aren't getting blocked. So linebackers are running free to get tackles. It means Christian Wilkins free, getting to do stuff. It means when he's in the backfield and a running back gets the ball, he's there and they have to make a cut before they want to, which fucks up the entire blocking scheme. Once Maxx Crosby is injured and isn't fully Maxx Crosby, it's a domino effect, and the entire defense suffers from it. Again, this is the best examples of how important Maxx Crosby is. Aren't the crazy days where he has 3 sacks, 10 tackles, a fumble recovery, and 2 passes batted down. It's games like this when he's so injured he can't be effective. And the Carolina fucking Panthers with Andrew Gregory Dalton put up fantasy numbers that win you the week. That's when we know how important Maxx Crosby is. When this happens. Seriously. Let's put up did any of you guys start any of these Panthers? Or how about this? Anybody in any of your fantasy leagues start any of these motherfuckers? Chuba Hubbard, Deontay Johnson, Andy Dalton. This is how little everyone thought of these players. Nobody started any of them. Andy Dalton. Let's see how he did today. Andy Dalton, 30 fantasy points. 30 fantasy points. 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, 30 fantasy points. Deontay Johnson. How'd he do? 18 fantasy points, 14 receptions, and a touchdown. See how Hubbard did. This one's gonna hurt. I'm looking at them on everyone's picking them up. Everyone, all these players were all free agents 2 hours ago, and everyone's picking them up. 22 fantasy points for Chuba Hubbard. 114 rush yards, 55 receiving yards, and a touchdown. None of these guys were on any teams in my leagues. No one thought these guys were good. until they came to Las Vegas with a hobbled Maxx Crosby. And now they're all winning people fantasy weeks. Panthers have been outscored 73-13 in the 2 prior weeks. And they put up 36. The Raiders scored 7 points in non-garbage time. Hopefully this is a wake-up call. Because there's too much talent on this team to have this happen. There's too much talent on this team. Brock Bowers is on pace to be one of the best rookie tight end seasons ever. Davante Adams is still Davante Adams. Kobe Myers is one of the most underrated wide receivers in football. Michael Mayer is the most underrated tight ends in football. Maxx Crosby is one of the most essential defensive players in football. Christian Wilkins is as advertised. Jack Jones is a budding superstar. Robert Spillane, I think he still leads the league in tackles. Robert Spillane is an absolute animal. Best kicking tandem in football. Again, we will continue to verbally jerk off AJ Cole every single game. I think all of his punts were inside the 20 and one inside the 5. We would be talking about it a lot more. I tweeted this out. We would be talking about it all the time, AJ Cole's punting, if it wasn't just standard operating procedure. If he didn't just boom 60-yarders every single time, usually inside the 20, sometimes inside, like regularly inside the 5, we'd be like, whoa, what a great punt. But because it's AJ Cole, we just, that's what he does. It doesn't feel that crazy because he does it every time. There's way too much talent on this team for this to be okay. And for this not to be a wake-up call. McBud, thank you for the super chat. Maxx and Wilkins were injured on the right side of the D-line, is missing guys. My point is, where's the depth? That our starters were toast. I bet Soto called me crazy. Soto called me crazy when I said depth is a major issue here. Depth's a problem. It's a huge problem. And it's not like a shocker. We've been drafting terrible for 10 years. We've been drafting awful for a while now. Like we'll get hits, and we'll get crazy great hits, right? Maxx and Renfro and, even Farva was a hit. Like, we'll hit every now and then. But when you store like those like 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks, those should be like 7-year long contributors, like 7 to 10 seasons of will contribute, right? Like you don't usually get starters in the 4th and 5th round sometimes, but like you usually don't. But they're guys that contribute. They learn the system, learn the scheme, know what to do. Someone gets hurt, I can fill in for 3 weeks and hold the fort down for you, right? We don't have those guys. That's why the defense tires, because you have so many guys playing every single snap. That's why when there's injuries on the O-line, like Colton Miller wasn't ready to come back. We had no choice. Who's going to fill in for him? They don't have anybody. Like I said, other than like tight end and quarterback are the only 2 deep rooms we have. And I tell you what, guys, as the season goes along, injuries aren't going to become a less of a factor, right? Like we're not going to get less injured the more football we play. I was called an idiot because, just, 3rd preseason game, guys aren't playing well. Like these guys aren't going to see the field. It's like, no, the depth guys will. We don't have depth, guys. We don't have really many holes as starters, but this is football. No one makes it all the way through the season. We've been spoiled because the last couple seasons, we've had really, really good injury luck. Really, really good injury luck. Like we don't have. Look at the Rams right now. Half the old line's injured. Both the starting the 2 best wide receivers out for the season are like close to that. Injury reserve. Like we've had really good injury luck. That's not. Chickens are going to come home to roost eventually, guys. I know I'm Mr. Doom and Gloom. I really don't want to be. I don't mean to be. Like this is a wake-up call. This isn't the football team that we have right now. This isn't this isn't our football team. We made a lot of the same mistakes, but the important thing is we know what they are. We know how to fix them, and we have the talent, at least as on the ones, to be able to adjust it. We'll be fine. Or at least we have all the reasons to think that we're fine. All right, that's it for me. We'll do a show a day early this week. We'll record on Tuesday and it'll air Wednesday because I'll be on the road. Flight schedule. I haven't told Soto yet, so it'll be a surprise. That we'll be back. I'll be back. We'll be doing it on Tuesday. And then I went solo today. Soto will be solo post show next week because I'll be in the air, unable to watch. I think it's the Browns next week. All right, guys. Final Carolina 36, Raiders a lot less. I mean, it really felt like 36-7. 15 points in garbage time. It was 36-7. It was an ass whooping. When we look back, like, oh, the Raiders put up 22, 36-22. Oh, that was a bad loss. Like, no, it was a terrible loss. It was a shellacking. All right, guys. Until then, knock on wood if you're with me.
Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video. And if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.